Tonight, the new head of the province's health authority speaks for the first time since his appointment. That story, and
it really gives us that comfort that someone is looking out for us.
If you've ever had a period, you know that these can get pretty expensive. Coming up, we'll tell you about a new deal to change that.
Social media doesn't always get a good rep, but what about social media as medicine?
It was a huge surprise. I was not expecting that at all.
One woman's fight for her life with the support of her community on and offline. That story coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
welcome to Here and Now. The province has announced a new deal to make menstrual products free in more locations around the province. But for one student, it's about more than just saving money on those essential products. CBC's Malone Mullen has that story.
For students like Kelsey, getting your period in the middle of second period isn't really a big deal these days. Thanks to this drawer in her high school guidance office, stacked to the brim with free pads and tampons.
I've been in the bathroom and someone will whisper and say, can someone run and get me something from the guidance office? And someone will have to go. And we're told to take whatever we need. There's no limit on what you can take.
It's thanks to the province's free menstrual product program, which was introduced 3 years ago in elementary and high schools. Kelsey has availed of it from the very start. She was also on hand today when the Office of Women and Gender Equality announced it was expanding that program to all schools, plus food banks, shelters, and other community hubs.
We're actually a leader in Canada to make this happen.
But all these free products, almost 5 million of them over the next 3 years, aren't coming from government. Corporate giant Loblaw is actually footing the bill this time around, just like they're doing in Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba.
It's great corporate goodwill, what they're demonstrating. I mean, you know, it's amazing. We welcome this support, of course, and it will go a long way. And what's really important, it's going to actually break down those barriers.
Loblaw and its menstrual product vendors are putting up $1.9 million to pay for all these products, a move that comes just 7 months after a nationwide boycott of the company over perceived price gouging. But this Shoppers exec says the donation isn't a tax write-off.
And you know, there's an affordability crisis in this country, and we think this helps that a bit too, right? So, you know, with women's health and affordability, we think it's an important thing for us to do. So if it costs, that's just a cost.
The province says this deal with Loblaw is a way to combat period poverty, citing a 2023 national report from Women and Gender Equality Canada. That report showed a quarter of people who menstruate worry about rationing period products and can't regularly afford them at retail prices. That means they might miss school and work and fall behind. But for officials and students like Kelsey, there's another reason today's announcement can help people with periods, and it's largely political.
My friends and I are terrified by what's happening south of our border. It's not right. It's impossible for young women growing up in this society to feel equal if that's what we're heading towards. It's almost like we're going back in time when we should be going forward. So for this to be happening in our province, it really gives us that comfort that someone is looking out for us and our choice and our rights.
Malone Mullen, CBC News, Bay Roberts.
Well, the province says it's extending funding for people who avail of Jordan's Principle. It ensures that Indigenous children receive the services they need, both inside and outside of the classroom. But as a federal backlog grows and a court challenge arises, a Corner Brook parent says she's concerned over what happens next. The CBC's Alex Kennedy has that story.
For Jennifer Broadbent, funding through Jordan's Principle means everything to her family. Her son Obi has Pura syndrome, which means he needs help in the classroom. Jordan's Principle helps Obi's family pay for a student assistant, along with much-needed things to help him get around, like his wheelchair and an accessible van.
I'm very defensive of Jordan's Principle because they have been just they've just been invaluable to us.
But there are a lot of families like Obi's across the country, families who avail of Jordan's principle. That caused a massive backlog of cases in the fall. Parents couldn't access the funding they needed, and when they did, it was less than usual. The province stepped up to help, offering parents support through Jordan's principle until the end of December. Now, they've extended that funding until the end of the school year. But Broadbent says there's still a catch. The province is supporting parents at their current Jordan's principle allocation, which she says was never enough to begin with.
I think most people are in the same boat, and that is, our children aren't receiving the same educational supports that they received in previous years.
And that's not the only reason Jordan's principle is in the spotlight. A November ruling from the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal ordered the federal government to act on the backlog, a ruling the government challenged in December. Indigenous Services Canada, who hands out the funding, says mediation efforts are ongoing and that they're doing their best to cut down on the backlog. Broadbent says she's hopeful for a resolution, but also has concerns over what happens after June. She kept Obi out of school for his own safety at the start of the year and wouldn't hesitate to do it again.
I can't speak for all parents, but I know I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing Obi to school if I didn't feel like he was safe and thriving.
Education Minister Crystal Lynn Howell didn't offer up an interview, but an emailed statement says her department has allocated more than $6 million to ensure students are supported. It doesn't say what happens after June, other than that they would work with the federal government. Alex Kennedy, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Wow, an unfortunate way to start the day for the owners of Always in Vogue. Security cameras captured two people trying to pull off an early morning smash and grab at the high-end clothing store in downtown St. John's. Police say a call came shortly after 5 o'clock this morning, and two men have since been arrested and charged with break and enter. Well, to healthcare news now. The new CEO of the province's health authority says the number of people looking for primary care in this province is getting smaller. Dr. Pat Parfrey was appointed to NL Health Services' top job last week. He says his main objective is to implement the province's health accord, the 10-year plan to overhaul the healthcare system. And Parfrey says some improvements are already underway.
Our number is what number of people are looking for primary care physician through Patient Connect. That had a peak of 96,000. It is now down to 48,000, and it's likely to drop again over the next few months down to 40,000. And as we put in some more family care teams, we'll drop it again. That's a success. And I'm not sure you're hearing as much complaints about the access to primary care as we have. There's still 48,000 people wanting to get a family doctor. That's not good, but there has been improvement.
Well, the St. John's Regional Fire Department showed off a new engine today, and this one looks a little different. It's painted in a colorful lavender to raise awareness for all types of cancer and to honor survivors. The new lavender fire truck rolled out of the Paradise Fire Station earlier today.
So today we're unveiling our lavender engine, and it's in support of cancer care. We recognize that many people in the community, all of us have dealt with cancer in some way, whether it's a loved one, a neighbor, and even ourselves. The St. John's Regional Fire Department has partnered with the local 1075 Association, and we've brought in this initiative for a lavender engine to show our support for cancer care for all of the people that we serve within our region.
This is a very important initiative for us. Last week, as you see in the news, we did release information that we're going with a PFAS-free bunker gear to help reduce our exposures and our cancers in firefighters. And this, I guess, is a secondary piece of that is representative of the community and the citizens we serve and their struggles with cancer as well. We're representing all cancers because we all struggle and we all are affected by it. So in the last 8 or 9 days, I must say, it's been really good within our association. The morale's really picked up.
On a regular basis, we support our firefighters when it comes to cancer care and all of the initiatives that we put in place for their safety. But I think it's also important that they're going out and responding to our residents, and it's important for them to understand that we support them as well in their fight against cancer, and we want to give some hope and belief.
Well, now to the Northern Peninsula, when a woman there posted online that her cancer is back and her treatments aren't working, she never imagined what would happen next. Corinne Aylward asked her community to join her in a song, and people went above and beyond to show her that she isn't alone. Here now's Layla Baudouin reports.
It was a huge surprise. I was not expecting that at all.
After getting another bad health report, Corinne Aylward turned to social media, asking others to join her in singing Rachel Platten's My Fight song. The reaction she got almost as motivational as the song itself.
And lo and behold, they took it literally.
Dozens showed up at her front doorstep in Port au Choix, belting the lyrics, "This is my fight song, take back my life song."
I was just like, oh my God, full of emotion and just really happy. It made me really happy.
A feeling Aylward desperately needed after learning her colon cancer was spreading and she was running out of options.
My cancer had progressed and spread even further into more lymph nodes in my chest cavity, and I have some spots on my lungs.
This isn't the first time Aylward has had cancer. She was diagnosed in 2022 with breast cancer. At that time, she made the decision to tell the world.
So I said, I'm going to share my story, go public with my story, because I have 3 children. I don't want them to hear secondhand news, or family hearing secondhand news, or friends from away hearing things that are not correct. So I'm going to go public with this so people can't get the wrong information.
Posts like this one, round 12 today, where Aylward kept her community updated, and they gave her something back in return.
And what I get back from it, it does me so good. You are a truly loved girl, definitely an army behind you. KFG, we know what that means.
And she hasn't stopped the fight or posting. She grew a strong and caring following online. Since her cancer journey began, Aylward picked up coaching, fully embracing her community and focusing on one milestone at a time.
I saw my son graduate, go away, make a life for himself. I saw my daughter graduate in 2022. My youngest daughter's in grade 10, and my goal is to see her graduate. I need to see her graduate. And when I get there, I'm going to set another goal. But I'm hell-bent on getting there. It's 2 more years, and I'm going to get there. Come hell or high water. This freaking cancer is not going to make me not see her graduate. Fighter, KFG.
Aylward is 3 years breast cancer free, but this colon cancer in stage 4 has been tough. She's on her last round of treatments offered here, but isn't giving up. For the first time since this began, she's saying yes to help.
Because I may need it this time. I may need to utilize some help. And I tell you, this community is amazing. Amazing. It's overwhelming. Anyway, so that's my story in a nutshell.
And like the lyrics in the song she's grown to love, this is her fight song. And she's still got a lot of fight left. And community cheering her on. The medicine, she says, is a must in this battle for her life.
We're high numbered. You know, we're a big population. Cancer patients are a big population. And the more support you can get, the better.
Layla Baudouin, CBC News, Port au Choix.
An active week shaping up across the province. We've got snow moving in with some gusty winds for Tuesday and a mixed rain in the east. Your full forecast is coming up.
Well, here's a view familiar to folks in Corner Brook. A local YouTube account called @CornerbrookNL posts daily time lapses of the Corner Brook Mill. And this one is from earlier this month and shows off a day in the life of the pulp and paper plant. Well, the curling community, both in this province and across the country, is mourning the loss of one of its legends. Toby McDonald, coach of the gold medal winning Team Gujou during the 2006 Olympics, died on Friday at the age of 75. McDonald was a member of the province's first Brier winning team in 1976, as well as a longtime coach and mentor to many young curlers. MHA Jamie Korab was a member of the 2006 Olympic team, and he says aside from being his coach, McDonald was also a good friend. Korab says McDonald was an icon at the curling club who strived to keep the sport alive.
Did a lot of curling himself, obviously, in seniors and then in masters. And then still, right up until recently was giving back to the curling community. He was, again, such an iconic person at the club. Everyone knew him. I don't know anyone that didn't like him. And just that wisdom, and I felt, he wanted to keep that part of curling going. And it had nothing to do with his legacy or needing the accolades, but just, so much experience and wanting to grow the game. So I had a bad knee injury there. Well, I've had it forever, but really bad the last couple of years where anytime I went out to throw with my daughter, I'd have to throw left-handed. And Toby had said to me, no one's ever went to 2 national championships throwing right-handed or left-handed. If you wanted to do this, I'll come down and hold a broom for you and help you out. So he was willing to come back on the ice with me to help me train. We unfortunately never got to do that, but to me that just goes to show the type of guy he is.
Staying with some sports news, the Newfoundland Regiment will hit the ice at the Mary Brown Centre this fall, and local hockey fans can't wait. The new team's name was revealed last week, and as part of the process, the new Quebec Maritimes Junior League consulted with the military on how to best pay tribute to the province's history.
Our new Q team, the Newfoundland Regiment.
I love the name of the logo for many, many reasons. I saw a bit of pushback on it. I think some people were talking about the glorification of war, but what Stanford and Kenny O'Leary did, they consulted the military and they talked to them and say, how are we going to do this right? And they did it right. Everything was perfect. And one of the things being like in my former life, I studied history. What I like about it is they're celebrating the regiment. Now, because we talk about Newfoundlanders War, we always default to Beaumont Hamel, right? Mm-hmm. Terrible tragedy, obviously. But sometimes we forget about some of the gallantry. So I like that history is being brought back into life. I love the logo. It's cool. It's got the caribou. It looks like the old Scarlet logo they had back in 1917. I think it's an awesome logo. I got faith in the management team. After the years, I've just gotten to know them, right? And it is a good brand of hockey. I mean, we all sit around Christmas and watch the World Juniors. This is what we're going to be seeing. This fast-paced, hopefully not as bad as Team Canada, incredibly good hockey.
Kicks it up with the skate, head up, and rips it up over top of Marc-Andre Fleury.
Well, a big night for St. John's native Clark Bishop in Minnesota. The 28-year-old netted his second career goal in the National Hockey League last night. The last time Bishop scored was the 2018-2019 season when he played for the Carolina Hurricanes. The Calgary Flames called Bishop up from its AHL team on Thursday. His goal was one of 5 the Flames scored last night in its 5-4 win over the Minnesota Wild.
Anytime you can score and help the team win, obviously it's a good feeling, and to come out on top is even better. And like you said, it's been a while since I scored a goal, so in the NHL, but it feels good.
Can you share with us? You said on that last goal it wasn't really your goal, or what happened there?
Yeah, on the last one, I think it was in Anaheim. I kind of got pushed going into the net. Their guy went into their goalie. Puck got caught on my skate, and my foot and the puck went in the net, and they counted as a goal. So that was my first NHL goal. So it's good to have one that I actually shot and went in the net.
She broke the news, and I just said, is the baby gonna be okay, and am I gonna be okay? Like, that's just what I'm wondering. Like, I'm finally pregnant, and I wasn't sure because I didn't know anybody else that had been pregnant and diagnosed with cancer.
Well, a cancer diagnosis while pregnant. It took 5 years and IVF treatments for one Bay Roberts woman to become pregnant, and learning she has cancer came as quite a shock.
Time for a look at your weather forecast. Ryan Snodden here in for Ashley this evening. And let's have a look at our highs today. And you can see pretty close to the freezing mark here in the east, where we've been seeing those rounds of flurries rolling through. And we've been looking at temperatures a bit cooler towards the west and certainly in Labrador. Highs of -14 in Labrador City today, -17 in Nain. Warm front working through, and with the southwest wind, temperatures not too bad as we just saw there with our highs today. Now, this low is going to be bringing with it a cold front that will spark some changes. And on the other side of that front, things are looking much, much cooler. Overnight lows tonight are going to be closer to the freezing mark right along the south coast. It'll be anywhere from -5 to -8, -9 through Gander, Grand Falls, Windsor, back towards Corner Brook at -7, -5 to -6 in through the Straits. And as we look into western Labrador, there's that colder air starting to creep its way in, -27 in through Labrador City by tomorrow morning. And that is because there, Lab City gets into that cold sector of this system. Still into the warm sector here across Newfoundland and into most of Labrador overnight tonight. The snow starting to push its way in, certainly to Labrador overnight, and you can see the west coast into the mix throughout the day tomorrow. This air gusting in from the south, gusting 60 to 70 kilometers per hour, will likely be warm enough to mix us over to rain for the Burin, the Avalon Peninsulas, Clarenville, Bonavista, also likely to see that mixing. Even Gander back towards Terra Nova, likely some mixing with this. And then you can see that front moves through the evening and into the early overnight hours of Tuesday. And that will be, yes, changing us back over to snow. And this will turn on the snow squall machine coming off the Gulf and into the western parts of the island for Tuesday night into Wednesday. More on that in a second. Note our temperature highs for tomorrow across the Avalon, the Burin Peninsula is near 5 degrees, 2 to 3 degrees in through central, and yes, right near 1 along the west coast. And those winds from the southwest and westerly will gust 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, and then some stronger gusts even into the Tuesday evening and overnight time frame. Look at the cold air really charging in here. Highs of just -20 in Lab City tomorrow. Yet you can see 0 in St. Anthony, -5 in through Cartwright and Happy Valley Goose Bay, -8 in Nain. Snowfall totals from this system, this is by the time we get to Wednesday morning. So you can see throughout the day tomorrow and then into tomorrow night. We are talking about not a whole lot here for the Avalon and northeastern parts of Newfoundland, less than 5 centimeters. Amounts certainly increasing towards the west coast, where we are going to be turning on the snow squall machine through the Tuesday overnight time period. So we're looking at the most significant accumulation there. We could see pockets of 15 to 20 centimeters by the time we get to Wednesday morning, and maybe even a little bit more after that, as that squall machine will continue to fire throughout the day on Wednesday, though the wind's starting to pivot a little bit back further to the southwest again on Wednesday, but still additional accumulation likely. Next system knocking on the door here by Wednesday evening. We'll pick that story up in just a second. Note temperatures on Wednesday, pretty chilly in the west. Temperatures anywhere from -6 in Port aux Basques to minus double digits in the north, -3 to -4 in through the southeast, and yeah, some very cold temps in through Labrador. This next system, this is going to be an interesting one. This track right over the Avalon. So the devil's in the details here. If it's further to the southeast, then the Avalon gets into that steadier snow zone. If it's to the northwest, then more mixing. This is uncertain, but southeastern Newfoundland, including central, the southeastern half of the island, looking likely to see some accumulating snow with this one, and then that cold air really settles into the region behind this system for Friday and into Saturday. So it's going to be active over the next couple of days, no question about that. So stay tuned for updates. You can see that cold air really settling in toward the end of the week in through western parts of Newfoundland, central and western parts of Newfoundland as well, with minus double-digit overnight lows. So certainly Tuesday, the mildest day of the next 5. And you can see Labrador also looking quite chilly toward the end of that 5-day forecast and into western Labrador. After that light snow tomorrow, it is sunshine, but very, very chilly Arctic air in place over Lab West. That is your forecast to now. Carolyn, back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, despite a recent ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, Palestine supporters in St. John's believe they need to continue to spread their message as violence continues in the West Bank. On Saturday, they gathered downtown, as they have for over a year, to celebrate the recent announcement.
We are here at a pro-Palestine protest in St. John's. Last week, there was a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. We are here to see what people are thinking.
Finally, we have a ceasefire. When I first stood before this crowd in November of 2023, I quoted my father's words, "The night cannot last forever." Today I say, the night did not last forever.
What are you doing here today?
I'm here to support the Palestinian people and especially the Palestinian community in St. John's and celebrate a ceasefire, but also understand that the fight is not over and we need to see a free Palestine and an end to the occupation.
Free, free, free Palestine! We acknowledge that we will never be free until all people are free.
من غزة. He's originally from northern Gaza. He's from the north.
And how are you feeling about the ceasefire deal?
He says it's good that they have this for now, but he does not think it's permanent. He thinks that fighting will resume, and he's very, very nervous about that.
Arms embargo!
I think in my mind it's like the political form of saying stop the death. And I think for us too, you know, we've been saying ceasefire now, but we've also been saying end the occupation.
Free, free, free Palestine!
So here's what we've gathered from talking to local residents.
I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall.
It is not for the weak of stomachs.
What does it mean for you to be able to give that advice and to know that you've helped?
Don't look down.
If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
St. John's.
Corner Brook.
Shaji, Inuk First Nation.
Grand Falls, Windsor.
New West Valley, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Well, next is a story about a 30-year-old Bay Roberts woman who spent the past 5 years trying to get pregnant. It was a journey filled with disappointment after disappointment, but thanks to IVF, she finally succeeded in getting pregnant. And then just over a week ago, Carrie Lynn Cram and her husband received shocking news. The mom-to-be was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. I spoke with Carrie Lynn this afternoon about what that diagnosis means for her and her unborn baby.
I was about 9 weeks pregnant when I noticed a lump in my breast, and I thought, well, there's, your mind immediately goes to cancer. Of course, it always just goes to worst case scenario. But I said, there's no way it can be that because it showed up when I got pregnant. So it must be hormonal. It must be something to do with the pregnancy, maybe the IVF, the hormones I was on for that, maybe this is what's causing that. And my doctor agreed. She said, we will look into it, but she said, of course, we will have it investigated, but she said, yeah, very likely pregnancy related. So when they looked again, the breast radiologist just said, this doesn't look right. I was hoping they were going to say it's a cyst and we can drain it and move on. But she said, unfortunately, no, this is not a cyst. And so they did 2 biopsies that day. 2 days later after the biopsy, I received my diagnosis of stage 2 invasive breast cancer. Yeah, it was the shock of my life. Yeah, I'm still in shock, I think. I was concerned for myself and also concerned for the baby. That was the first thing that entered my mind when I received the diagnosis. I said, my mom was with me when I had the phone call with my family doctor, and she broke the news. And I just said, "Is the baby going to be okay? And am I going to be okay?" Like, that's just what I'm wondering. Like, I'm finally pregnant, and I wasn't sure because I didn't know anybody else that had been pregnant and diagnosed with cancer. So you don't know. I wasn't sure. So. Thankfully, my doctor did reassure me that because I'm in my 2nd trimester, chemotherapy is an option. So that was a bit of a relief, but still alarming.
How long ago did you get this diagnosis?
About a week and a half ago.
So this is brand new.
Yeah, brand new. Yeah, totally.
So you're still processing all this?
Still processing, yeah. I've met with the surgeon, and that was an incredible appointment. They kind of gave me a tentative plan of what this will look like. They said it's very likely I will immediately start chemotherapy. Like, as soon as they know all that they need to know about the cancer I have and what it will be what will it respond to, what it will not respond to. Once they have all the information on my cancer, then they will be able to treat me immediately. So it looks like the tentative plan is I will do multiple rounds of chemotherapy while pregnant. I will be able to carry my baby to around 37 weeks, which is great, if all goes well. Yeah, they said they want me to carry the baby almost full term, and then I will have a mastectomy, and they will remove the lymph nodes that have the cancer in them as well. So that will happen after I have the baby, and then likely radiation after that. I know that my experience as a mom, as a new mom, is going to be different than what I had expected. And so I have, in the last few days, grieved that I will not be able to breastfeed, which I was expecting. I'm grieving, the experience, the postpartum experience that I was looking forward to will not be the same. I am grieving the loss of my hair, which will soon happen. So there are things, of course, I you know, I'm grateful for science and the team of doctors that are behind me, but I also know that there are things that are about to happen that I need to grieve, and process. So I have started that for sure. The postpartum experience is not going to be what I had expected and was looking forward to. It will still be wonderful, but it's just going to be different. There are parts of it that are just going to be different.
And this is something you're clearly very open to talking about this. You posted about this on social media. Why do you want to share your story about what you're going through?
I want to share my story because it is much more common than I thought. And I wonder if one day someone will be in the shoes that I'm in now and will look or will want someone to support them through it, and I can be that person. They will know, you know, Kiri Cram went through this. I can reach out to her. So that's what I'm wondering. Because it is common. Like, I have now had other new moms reach out to me and said, hey, I was just in your shoes. This is what you can expect. And so I just want people to know that I am going through this and am open to answering any questions along the way as I go through it, right? And can be their support through it. It's just, it's not many people know about it. Even the fact that you can do chemotherapy while pregnant, that's not something that I knew, and a lot of my friends and family didn't know. And so I just want that to be a common thing, so that maybe when someone that I know or know of gets diagnosed, they can say, okay, this isn't the end for me and my baby. Treatment is an option. I know that because Kiri just went through it.
Had the doctors talked to you about how often they see someone who's pregnant who then gets a cancer diagnosis? Does this happen very often?
It happens more often than I thought. I had never heard of it before, so I said I must be 1 in a billion, like to have both of those things happen. But they said that they've treated multiple women in the last year in the same boat that I am in. So it's comforting in a way to know that I'm not alone in this. But I did not know that it was that common. I, of course, went to my family doctor a few years ago when I was like in my early 20s, mid 20s, and I said, you know, I'd like to get a mammogram done because it's in my family. And so am I able, just because, you know, it's in my family, can I get regular mammograms done? And I was told it's not possible until I reach like in my 40s. So I said, oh, okay.
Just 10 years from now.
Yeah, 10 years from now. And here I am with stage 2 breast cancer. So I think it's alarming. I wonder maybe if you have, if it's a genetic thing, maybe that can allow you to have mammograms. I think that would be incredible, because who knows, it might have been caught for me if I was scheduled for annual mammograms. Like my mom is, and other females in my family that are in their 40s and 50s, they go for regular mammograms. And I feel like, I should too.
Well, Kiri Lynn Cram, I really appreciate you coming in and telling us your story, welcome. And good luck with all of it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Well, Halifax woman is spreading the message about accessibility in sports by sharing her journey learning to monoski on social media. With over 2 million likes on TikTok, her reach is far, and she's motivating others to get involved in adaptive skiing along the way. The CBC's Selena Alders met up with her at the hill to hit the slopes together.
One year ago, 19-year-old Annika Siegel took her first ever mono-skiing lesson. She's been using social media to share her journey and educate people on adaptive sports ever since.
How do I use a chairlift as a monoskier? That's a super common question that I get asked.
Siegel is demonstrating how the sport works to her more than 10,000 followers from around the world, driving home the importance of accessibility on the hill.
I've been working on this no hands, no outrigger skiing, which is difficult, but it's been clicking. So a monoski is basically a sit ski with one ski on the bottom. It has a bucket on it, so that's where you sit. a bunch of straps, which is how you kind of lock yourself in, kind of like a boot buckle on your ski boot. And then it has suspension, which you can see down there with a shock on it.
Well, do you want to go try it out?
Absolutely, let's go.
All right, let's do it.
After being told she would never ski again, Siegel was determined to get back out there. Although there's been a learning curve, she's motivating others along the way.
I've definitely gotten a few messages from people saying that maybe they had an injury or disability and they're no longer able to ski standing up, and that they saw my videos and realized that now they'd be able to just sitting down, and that was a pretty cool feeling.
The best part of it all? Getting to relearn her favorite sport.
I got that comment on one of my videos, imagine how cool it would be to learn your favorite thing a second time, and that was such a cool comment. That kind of changed the way that I thought about learning how to monoski, because really it's true. I was so young when I learned how to ski that I don't remember it at all, so being able to have that experience of learning for a second time has been the coolest experience of my life.
Siegel started skiing at just 3 years old and grew up as a competitive racer. She may get back into racing one day, but for now, she's prioritizing getting her degree in therapeutic recreation.
It's made a massive impact on my life, so I hope to kind of make that on other people's.
Zach Dixon has also had an impact on Siegel's life. He was the one to introduce her to monoskiing.
She was independent probably within the first 20 minutes and was skiing from top of the hill within the first 2 hours probably. So the fastest person catch on we've ever seen.
Dixon is a volunteer with CADS, or Canadian Adaptive Snow Sports. He encourages anyone interested in trying it out to get in touch with the organization.
Make sure anybody regardless of their ability has the opportunity to get on snow and experience the joy of sliding here in Nova Scotia.
As for Siegel, she wants to continue advocating for parasports, continue learning new tricks, and of course, continue to go fast.
There's no missing pieces in my life right now. Everything is kind of, I'm doing it all again, and just in a different way, and everything's good.
Selena Alders, CBC News, Wentworth.
Well, today, January 27th, is recognized as Holocaust Remembrance Day across the world. And today also marked the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. Ceremonies also took place across Canada in memory of the 6 million victims. And survivors living in this country are sharing their stories to highlight why it's important to remember the horrors of the past. The CBC's Sarah Levitt has more.
I think every survivor's duty is to do that.
The duty, George Reinitz says, to tell their story. The Holocaust survivor was just 12 years old when his family was taken to Auschwitz. Separated from his mother and sister on the first day, he never saw them again. His father, also murdered.
I'm alone, I'm still 12 years old.
Now 93, the Montrealer has spent much of his life sharing accounts of his ordeal in the concentration camp and of all he lost.
And I think it's more important today than ever, because there's still a hate and racism, and I never thought it's going to come back.
It's the 80th anniversary of liberation.
Across Canada, efforts are ongoing to ensure the Holocaust is not forgotten. A group of grade 6 students take in testimony from the daughter of a Holocaust survivor.
My dad was number 71572, my grandfather number 71595, and from that point forward they were no longer a human being with an individual name and identity, they were simply a number in the Nazi regime.
Words that stick for some.
People in the world, even though you didn't do anything to hurt anybody else, some people are just so ruthless that they don't care.
It's important to learn so we can learn from our mistakes. There has been a lot of hate in the world recently, which is not good. So we have to learn more to love each other.
Something on display by those who braved the cold at the National Holocaust Monument in Ottawa.
Together let us build the world where Auschwitz remains only a historical symbol and not a returning reality.
A prayer for peace, as important now as it was 80 years ago. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
The miners are a family, and they have to take care of each other.
It's truly an honor as a Newfoundlander to be able to go out there and bring back a representation of all the Newfoundlanders that weren't able to come back.
Love the world around you because it does shimmer with the impossible sometimes made possible.
Well, before Ryan has a look at the long-range forecast, we wanted to share this adorable video with you. This little seal was spotted at the marina in St. Philip's over the weekend. Looks like it's taking a little rest on some of the ice that's formed there. Paula Snow-Keogh posted this great footage on Facebook yesterday, and it seems like the seal might be enjoying all of the attention it's getting. That is so cute.
Let's have a look at that weather forecast. Ryan Snodden in with you this evening for Ashley. And We'll have a look at the future tracker map right off the top here and show you this next system moving in with light snow into Labrador and more significant snow likely for the west coast, especially after the front moves through, because we're going to be seeing this snow squall machine firing up. Note the mixing here across the east and southeast, where not looking at a whole lot from this system, but yeah, there's the onshore winds which will fire up, and the snow squalls are going to be a factor for Tuesday night into Wednesday, no question about that. Temperatures right across the island looking at to be on the plus side for tomorrow. St. Anthony right near the freezing mark, same thing through the Straits and down through Port Saunders rather. And as we look at the forecast into southeastern Labrador, could even see places like Mary's Harbour right around the freezing mark tomorrow, but Cartwright likely near -5, and Happy Valley Goose Bay also near -5, Lab City -20 for tomorrow, as that front will slide through and that Arctic air will start to pour into western parts of Labrador. Let's have a look at that snowfall map, and this is running right through Tuesday night, and so the snow squalls factored in here by the time you wake up on Wednesday morning. We're looking at kind of a widespread 10 to 15 centimeters for the west coast, but we could certainly see some heavier pockets in those snow squalls, which will also be rolling up into the Straits area. So we are going to be looking at some pretty significant snowfall there as well. Not so much in through the northeast, where we will see that mixing, and then just a chance for some flurries as we go back to some flurries for Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. And that snow will linger there for a time on Wednesday, as we'll show you the timeline here in a minute. And that west coast will continue to see those squalls on Wednesday. And there's the map, which shows those squalls, which will continue to roll in. Those possibly pushing up in towards the eastern parts of the island as well, but more so towards the northern peninsula, and keeping an eye on this next system. And again, the track is going to be so key with this. If it is further to the south and east, likely going to be seeing more snow than for the Avalon. If it's over the Avalon and back towards the northwest, then likely more mixing for the Avalon, but fairly likely here for just west of the Avalon, looking at a significant shot of snow from this, and then deep cold pouring in, Arctic air in place Thursday into Friday, staying pretty chilly for the weekend as well. So do bundle up and stay tuned to the forecast over the next few days. Carolyn?
All right, thank you so much, Ryan. And Ashley should be back with us tomorrow. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. Hope you can join us again tomorrow. Good night.